Hi friends, it's Chari. Today I am creating a cute little card using the new Hamsterific mini stamp set. So here is that cute little stamp set with that little hamster, and I'm going to be stamping out my images with some jet black ink so that I can do some Copic coloring, and I'm just stamping these on some white cardstock. I'll also stamp the little heart in this set 3 times, so I have 3 little hearts that I can sprinkle around my card. And then I'm just going to do some really easy Copic coloring. I'm starting with my darkest color and kind of putting the shadows underneath and on his feet, under his arms, and those cute little cheeks that are puffed out. And then I'm going in with my lighter color, which is that E13, and I'm going to blend that out and then color his whole body in this E13 color. And after I have all of this lighter color down, I will go back with my darker just a little bit and add a little bit of dark on the top of the head and kind of pull that back out into the face. Now I'm using an E21, which is a very pale creamy color for the belly and the inside of his ears. And then for the little seed that he's eating, I'm going to use some E70s. I did just add a little dark brown to his nose. And I'm using E71 and E74 for that seed or that nut or whatever it is that a hamster actually eats. Now I'm going in with my gel pen and just adding some white highlights. I colored those hearts with an R27. I didn't do any shading on them because they're very small. Just adding some white highlights, and then I'll add some little white dots to the seed. Now I can use the coordinating dies to cut out my images. So there is a die that cuts out the little heart as well. And now I have my little images that I'm just going to set aside. Now to work on the background, I'm using a piece of yellow spiffy speckles paper and a piece of mermaid cardstock. And I've cut both of those with a stitch rectangle. This is going to be the ground that my little hamster is standing on. So I only cut the bottom piece of that stitch rectangle out of that mermaid cardstock, and I'm lining up the sentiment along the bottom that says, "You are hamsterific." So I'll just stamp that in some black ink. And then I can trim this piece to be as short as I want it. So I'm going to put it into my paper trimmer here, and just trim it down a little bit. So this is going to go on the bottom of that rectangle. And what I'm going to do is go ahead and stack these two together. And then I'm going to use my pencil and draw a mark so I know where the top of this cardstock is. And I'm just going to shift it down just so slightly so I can draw my pencil line. And then when I glue this on, it will actually cover it up because I shifted that down. Or you could also just erase the pencil line. I've put some temporary adhesive on the back of this panel, and I've stuck it down to my Make Art station. And then I've pulled out the sunray background stencil, and I'm lining up the bottom of those sunrays, so the top of that border of the stencil, with my pencil line. So this is going to make it look like my sunrays start at that horizon line, which is the top of the piece of mermaid cardstock. So that's why I drew the pencil line there as a guide. And then I'm just putting this piece of tape, not to protect it because it's going to get covered up, but just to really hold those little rays at the bottom in place, snug to my paper. Now I'm going in with some Wild Honey Distress ink, and I'm just stenciling those sun rays up from the bottom. I kind of made it a little bit darker at the very bottom where it comes up from the horizon line, and then a little bit lighter towards the top. And this is just going to give us a really cool kind of tone on tone look since I am stenciling the yellow onto some yellow paper. So once I kind of have this looking the way I want to make sure I take those rays all the way to the outside edges, which is why I'm moving my magnets around. I can pull this off, and you see how we have this really fun tone-on-tone sunray background. Now, of course, I want to add some shimmer and some interest and dimension to this, so I've got my gold metallic watercolors. I'm adding some splatters I've got some big ones and some small ones. I'm just tapping it on the block or tapping it with my finger to get different sizes of the splatter droplets. And once that's dry, you can see how that shimmers nicely. I'm just going to make sure that's good and dry because I'm going to actually put this onto another panel. I'm going to pop this up with some foam tape, but since this is some pattern paper and not thick cardstock, and I also added some water and some ink to it, I wanted to make sure it was nice and stable. So I've just got another piece of white cardstock cut with that same stitch rectangle, and I'm just basically layering these two pieces together to make it nice and sturdy. Now I've put foam tape all over the back, and I can pop this onto a kraft card base. So this is the largest of the small stitch rectangles, so I get that nice border of kraft around the outside of my panel. And then finally with some liquid glue, I'm just adding that piece along the bottom where my sentiment is. For my little hamster here, I've put some foam squares on the back of him, and he's just going to sit in the middle, and I just love how it's kind of like these sun rays are coming out from behind him. It really makes him look hamsterific in my opinion. And then to add some more little embellishments above him and kind of fill the card, I'm using those little hearts that I colored earlier, and they're just going to float up above his head. I did pull out my lawnfawn glitter pen and add some very subtle shimmer to the hearts. And then here is my finished card with that cute little hamster and his seed. Here is a closer look at that cute little hamster on this card. Thanks so much for watching. Have an amazing day. Bye.